And those other offers had obviously helped educate the client on the marketplace a little bit because my understanding was, Scott, they'd never even seen an offer.
They had not seen an offer, and they'd seen very few showings as well because the architecture wasn't in the modern mold. This was a $7 million home that they built 10 plus years ago with pieces from all around the world. So this was such a unique property, but you don't always get back what you put into the property, and they had the use of it for 10 years. And you can't change Italian masterpiece to modern architecture. It's just not in the realm of possibility.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all. But then tell me about the third case study that I wanted to run through. James, were you the lead on Quail Lakes?
No, Scott was on that one as well.
So tell us about the situation of where 74300 Quail Lakes Drive in Indian Wells came from. This is a different community to Bighorn, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the Vintage Club.
So this is the most exclusive club in the desert.
Yes.
Yeah, and also in the top 5 country clubs in the entire United States.
So tell us how this one came about.
This one of our agents, one of our brand new agents, family, Jermaine Wright, shout out to Jermaine Wright if you're watching, had this opportunity, but she was brand new into the business. And so Jermaine's family opened up a door for a conversation on a listing that had been on and off the market for 13 years. So all the way back to 2008 when the real estate market had crashed the last time. And they were actually had an offer at that time in excess of $13 million for this property.
Jesus. Wow.
And it's a 15,000 square foot estate. It was the last estate that Mr. Steve Chase, a very well-known interior designer worldwide, had done. So it had a lot of great history to it. So when the market crashed, that $13 million buyer disappeared. And so the estate had to learn an interesting lesson. And as 2008 became 9, 10, and 11, they went from $11 million listing down to a 9.9 listing. And there were, I don't remember exactly, about 7 different realtors. Most of them I know who had experience getting this done, but nobody could get it done. And when we brought it on board, the last offer on the property in 2000, and don't quote me exactly, I wasn't the agent, right around the 2017 timeframe had been right around 7.5 million. And the estate had chosen not to take the 7.5 million because they were still licking their wounds from the $13.1 million offer from behind. So it's hard to comprehend that an estate at this level, it was an amazing estate, could drop in value so significantly, and that no one can truly appreciate what this property really was.
Can I try and get your thoughts on that then? Just that, let's philosophize about real estate for a second, not this individual case study. James, what is your thought about what it does to a property to sit on the marketplace for that long, the reputation or the tarnishment of that reputation of that property, regardless of whether it's still a beautiful property or not? What are your thoughts around that?
Sadly, it becomes a bit of a white elephant, and it's kind of everyone knows about it and everyone basically ignores it. So when we took the listing, we knew we had a big snowball to push up a hill to create the excitement and create a momentum. And so we had to think outside the box with that, didn't we?
Could you both imagine sitting there as a traditional agent being called into actually that appointment after it's been on the marketplace for that long, and then sitting in front of them and they go, well, what are you going to do? And what are you going to do differently? The honest answer to that would just be absolutely nothing. I'm not going to do anything differently. I'm just going to try it and hope that my timing is good. That's the honest answer. Imagine sitting there without auction and actually having to justify that you're going to do something different.
But you can't, because the other way to do it is, it was my first broker, Mr. Jerry Premack, said, price fixes everything. Well, price wasn't fixing everything on this particular listing because of this long history attached to it. And there's nothing wrong with the property itself. It was just 15,000 square feet of a 1990 property that needed a major rehabilitation to what we live on today. But the materials, there was nothing wrong with it. There was just going to be a lot of money and time in order to get that property to the next level. And who wants a big giant project? If you can afford a $5 million property, you might be finding the done $5 million property, because where we live we live in a place you choose to live. You
Yep.
don't have to live in the desert. Our clients are wealthy, high net worth people that these are second, third, and fourth homes, so they don't necessarily want another project.
No, that's right. What would you say to this? I'm just having a thought. And again, it could be an outlandish thought, but I'm thinking about it. In this situation, if you're taking on a property, and we've taken on a fair few of properties like this where it'd been on the marketplace for 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years. We've got so many case studies around being able to, and I say revitalize the reputation when I actually don't think that's what we kind of do. I think we actually have to think about it differently. The word auction actually accelerates the perception of, well, what's wrong with that property, to a point that it then becomes an opportunity, right? That people think, oh my God, this could actually be a really good opportunity, because now there's not a significant price attached to that property. It's auctioned with a low bidding to start from. It kind of fuels the greed, or feeds the greed to the extent that they get there. Do you think that that's what happened? What were the buyers like that you met after the property being on for this long, you guys showing the property? What were the people like that you met? Were they coming into that thinking, like salivating at this could be a ridiculously good deal? Were they people that had previously seen it? What were the clientele that were coming to see this property?
I did most of the showings on that, so I would say, so first of all, what's wrong with the property? It's been on and off the market for so long, and we were in auction bidding to start from at 5 million.
Yep.
All right, so the first was everybody looking to see what was wrong with the property. There was never anything wrong with the property. The auction platform brought some looky-loos, which we did not let through phone calls and inquiries on that we do an extensive research and behind the scenes to know who it is that's calling if they're not attached to a luxury realtor that we have a personal relationship with, because when you're at this level, you get a lot of interesting phone calls from all of that.
Yeah.
Most of the feedback as we took serious buyers through who were looking to make a serious investment at the vintage, most of them were people who had friends within the club, or they were club members that had been tracking this particular property and waiting for it to get to a right place. So as we went through the property with some of the various different people, it more came down to the feedback was we brought the attention back. We got more showings in the first 30 days than they'd had in the last 3 to 4 years with the previous 2 agents as a result of just the platform and the price. And it had also taken a rest. It had been on rest for about 2 years. So,
Got it.
we were introducing it as a brand new listing that way.
Yep.
The biggest objection overall was too much work, too much money, still and the size, because we're talking 15,000 square feet. This was literally, for those people who are from the 80s and they remember Dynasty or Dallas, or Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous with Robin Leach. This was the type of estate. This was a one of a kind type estate that was very magical.
Yeah.
Just the scale of this home would be the scale of a hotel.
Did you guys ever see the property that we took to auction in San Juan? Would look like Hogwarts on the side of the hill?
No.
It reminds me. I think that the sheer size, I think it was 17,000 square feet, and it's on the side of the hill, and it's got these peaks. It literally looks like something out of Hogwarts, right? But just to see that scale of property, that if you're not used to seeing that size, it's intimidating for people to actually walk into.
It is.
And then let alone if it needs work like this one needed, it is an intimidating step, but you've got to get them there. Most people would honestly not even look at it if you didn't market it correctly. So all in all, what did it sell for?
So we took it out of auction, just for full disclosure.
Yeah.
All the offers were coming in right around the $4 million type mark. And it was verbal. It wasn't even anybody putting pen to paper. And that was not even at our auction bidding to start from at $5 million. So that was soundly refused by the seller. But it gave us the ability to start having a conversation with our seller as to what we would do. And that really what we ended up doing is pulling it out of auction, putting it into a traditional platform priced just under $5 million to do the experiment. And the experiment is to see where we could get with that. And that worked for us to get that property sold. And we ended up selling that property. We double-ended it as well at $4.175 million, I believe is what our final price was on that.
So the tool that auction gave you in this situation was the education to the client for them to really see the marketplace with their own two eyes.
Absolutely. And shout out to Jason Scott. We thought that property was worth 4 million. We wanted to actually relaunch into the auction platform under the 4 million number, but our seller was not interested in doing that. You have to remember, we're dealing with a $13.1 million offer, albeit more than 10 plus years before.
I
But
was going
you
to
go
say
from
that.
13 to under 4, and there's a lot to process in your mind. And they didn't need to sell. That wasn't. This was just about releasing an asset that had been attached to the family. That was the family home for a long time. So there were a lot of other things attached to this property as well. A lot of emotions and feelings because it was a family home.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that, getting the perspective of getting into these transactions, how auction has been a tool for you guys to break into that marketplace has certainly been insight that I hope that people find incredibly valuable, because that's one of the things that I think that, the auction side of the business can do for anybody that's out there listening, is actually get them into price points that you don't think that you can compete in. That's what a great deal of our agents that use auction have done, is build themselves into marketplaces that might not have been possible if you were just that traditional person. It comes down to the networking you do then, or whatever it is, and your sphere that gets you into those groups. But there's another piece of all of this that, outside of the auctions and your own personal business and what you guys have done from a legacy perspective in the Coachella Valley, is that there's very few people, as you guys and I discovered yesterday, that don't know who you are in the Coachella Valley from a real estate perspective. But there's a part of this journey that you guys decided at one point that you wanted to open up your own real estate office. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because to say that it was smooth sailing would be a lie. It was not smooth sailing with the opening of your own office. It was, it's one of those situations where partnerships don't exactly work out, and there had to be a very significant commitment made from the both of you to push forward with what you're doing. And I think that the one word that comes to mind when it comes to what we do in real estate, and if you're going to take a leap into a venture, that you absolutely have to have, is conviction. And conviction is what you both had in order to get you guys to now. You're opening up your second office in Palm Desert, right near Bighorn, by the way. And it's an incredible story for people to know. But there's a part of this all the way along, that the level of conviction that you guys have had to build into the luxury market using auction, and believe that auction is the way to do it. And then, not to mention the belief in yourselves that you guys can run and operate a business. Where do you guys get the conviction from? And maybe a little bit of background on opening up the Harcourts Desert Home Office. Loaded, big question, I know.
Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
I'll let you start.
So, first of all, conviction is a great word. We would like to say failure is not in our vocabulary. And it has been a little bit of a surprise. We took a year to make the decision that we were willing to move forward with signing a franchise to open up the Harcourts Desert Homes brand here. Most of our friends thought we were absolutely crazy. Why did we need to do that? We already had a successful business. They didn't understand our short-term and long-term goals. It's taken more time and energy and persistence than we ever imagined, and I liken it to the iceberg. And for anyone who's seen the iceberg, all we see is the tip of the iceberg, and
the success,
the bright shining star. And James and we're a power couple. We've been together for 34 years. We've been through peaks and valleys. We've been through real estate markets that have been great and not, and we've made a lot of decisions. But truthfully, this was the hardest decision we ever made. It's taken more of our time and energy and pure focus to always believe in ourselves. And we really believe in the power of our manifestation and our focus on all that. And each time, through the dissolution of our business partnership 2 years in, when we realized that we were not in alignment with our vision for the company, and going through what that meant financially through attorneys and buyouts and all that type of stuff, to literally 2 years in, starting all over again with our vision. And Ben, you know this, there were a lot of times where our cash flow, we were barely getting by to do what we needed to do, but we always focused on what the end game was. And that conviction, that persistence for us really began to come to fruition in 2019, the fourth quarter. I remember seeing finally we're actually making some money. There's actually profit attached to it all. And since then, COVID helped expedite a portion of that process. But truthfully, we have this saying, both of us, and that is, success is earned, not given. it's not entitled for us, and we've worked really hard to get to this place now. And part of it now is we like to share our journey because we hope it can inspire other people to understand that if you continue to focus on your success, that you can manifest it and you can't give up, because there were many sleepless nights and many long conversations that both of us had where we almost thought we might not want to continue forward, and then we realized we were in charge of our destiny and we just pushed forward.